when I found carnivore, I kind of like thought of it as like keto 2.0. I was like, well, this is even better. It's going to remove all the plants from my diet, everything that I'm addicted to. And it's going to give me this jump start to be like, deep in ketosis. And it just seemed like the next thing I had to do because keto wasn't working for me.
If you've been watching, you know that I take my ingredients very seriously, but there are 3 companies that I have found that I absolutely love. Check the description for discount codes. Hello, welcome to today's show. My name is Adrian, and this is a series where I interview different people who've inspired me to live a healthier life. Today, I have on Ellie from Nourishment Redacted. Thank you for being here, Ellie.
Hi, Adrian. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so excited.
Ellie, could you tell us how you found the carnivore diet? What brought you here?
So, when I was a young girl, I found myself being drawn to food, not just for nourishment, but for emotional support because I felt like I was now I can put the words to it that I think I was emotionally neglected, not too severely, but I think that I used food as a coping mechanism. And I also had a lot of GI issues. I remember as a child, I had a lot of gas. And I remember sitting, this is so embarrassing, but I remember sitting in middle school and just holding in my gas and being like, no, you can't let it out. And I would just sit there and sit there and I couldn't focus on my schoolwork. And it kind of just carried me, and I would say I was metabolically healthy as a child, but as I continued to get older and older and my mental health began to decrease, I relied more on food. So I started having some disassociation symptoms where I would be walking around with my friends and then all of a sudden I'm laughing, having a great time, and then I would just like turn off. And then I would just zone out and I would just kind of wander away and then be like, "Where'd you go?" Be like, I just couldn't talk. And then there would be days where I would be clogging up all the toilets in my house because of constipation, and I would just keep eating and hiding myself in the world of, instant messaging and the internet, and I really struggled with school and I really struggled to express myself, and I think that these mental health issues, they became worse when I became an adult because now I had to face having all of this stress and responsibility on my shoulders, even though if I compare my life now to then, I was still very much a child. So I started gaining more and more and more weight, and my highest weight ever was 240 pounds. I carried most of my weight in my thighs, and they would rub and they would hurt. And I had boils, and I had started having small holes forming in my thighs because of the constant rubbing. And my husband, who was, just my boyfriend back then, but he would have to drain those for me. And it was incredibly, incredibly painful. And it ruined my self-esteem was never really that great to begin with, but it just made me feel like a leech. It made me feel disgusting and made me feel the worst. And my constipation just continued to get worse to the point where I would only go once a month, and this once a month or maybe twice a month session would be brought on because I took a laxative and I would be in pain for 6 hours. I'd have these sessions where I'd run to the toilet and then collapse and fall on the floor. And I would just like be in so much pain and just like wishing that it would go away. And so I was miserable in my body. My mental health continued to get worse as I tried to better my life. I worked. I went to school. I was trying to get my bachelor's degree, and I started having even more symptoms of disassociating to the point where I had out of body experience, and I would look down at my hands and I didn't recognize myself. And that was like a nightmare in real life. And so I dropped out of college and I lived in my house for 5 years without really leaving it. And if I didn't have the support of my husband, I don't really know what I would have done. And so while I was wasting my days away just being on the internet, because that was my happy place, and eating tons and tons of processed foods, fast food, um, and carbs and sugar and all those things, as I was continuing to do that, I found the keto diet first. And it was a video that kind of put this idea in my head that I was like, wait, I don't have to calorie count, which I had done for so many years and struggled and working out and killing myself in the gym when I have horrible knees. I had dislocated one knee as a middle schooler, and I had a hairline fracture when I was in high school. So having all this weight and trying to work out and calorie restrict, and then that would start binging. So when I found out that keto, you eat a lot of fat and you could eat burgers and bacon and butter and you can lose weight. It just kind of went like I did not understand that this was actually something that could work, and it did. And I did it for 6 months, and I saw, and I'm going to list all these different symptoms that it had helped me with. It helped me with my rosacea. I lost 53 pounds in the 6 months. My irregular period, which was happening like about every 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, who knew? If I wasn't tracking it, I wouldn't know when it was coming. Now it became regular. My mental health was at an all-time high. I was happy for like the first time in my life, and I was confident, and dandruff went away. I didn't have such dry skin anymore. And I felt like I could do something with my life. I could get out of the house and I can and be a person. And my husband and I were just like so happy together. And we decided to have our first baby together. And I was pregnant and I was so happy to think like, oh, I'm gonna be a mom. I'm gonna have purpose, right? And so I go to the doctor and I tell my doctor, she asked me, she goes, "Oh, what are you eating?" And I go, "Oh my gosh, I found this amazing diet that changed my life. I'm eating the keto diet." And she looked at me and said, "You have to stop. You're going to harm your baby. You cannot eat that. That is dangerous." And I just like, it shook me to my core. And I was just like, how could something that's so great for me be so dangerous for my baby? So I started getting meat aversions and I started getting nauseous and I decided to listen, even though was doing research about low carb dieting. And this is during, 2020, and it's extremely stressful. And like the world was on fire, and it was just like such a stressful thing. And I gave up keto, and I was conscious about like sugar, like cake and stuff like that, but it everything came back. Luckily, I didn't gain all the weight back, but I had gained weight. And so, went through the first, years of my daughter, and she had colic. It was incredibly stressful. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't breastfeed. I couldn't produce milk. And I just kept eating the oatmeal that the doctor said. I kept trusting the doctor, kept trusting the doctor. And I had no hope. And, but I stayed in it. I was mom. It did give me purpose, but I had wished that I had felt as good as I did on keto. And the sad part is when after my daughter was born, I thought to myself, oh, I'm not on keto anymore. I'm not going to harm anyone but myself. I should go back on keto, which is crazy, right? And I kept failing. I do it for a week. I do it for a week and then fall off. Do it for a week, fall off. So years pass. I have my son. He's a beautiful, healthy boy too, or healthy child as well. And then I decided after he was around 6 months of age that I was going to do the carnivore diet, because the same thought process came to my mind. Well, yeah, I'm not going to harm anybody but myself. But then I realized I had learned even more about the science of the carnivore diet. And it was incredibly inspired by Dr. Jordan Peterson. I was inspired by Carrie from Homestead How, and I was just like, I have to do this. So I started the carnivore diet. It's been about 14 months now, and my highest weight then was 202 pounds. And I can say that this has been the most sustainable weight loss that I've ever had. But I now don't think that carnivore is a weight loss diet. I think it's a body optimization diet. It fixes your brain, it fixes your hormones. Some people it takes a little bit longer, but for me, I'm now proud to say that just in these the first year of doing the carnivore diet, I've lost over 35 inches off my body. I've lost over 30 pounds, and my mental health is so good. I have so much energy most days, and I have two toddlers, and I'm watching my friend's son who's 6 months old. So I have three kids, Monday through Friday. And it's just And I finally have found even more purpose because I'm so healthy now. I'm doing my YouTube channel and I want to share my story and I want to inspire as many people as possible that, you can live the best life and you can find the right diet for you. So that's kind of what's been going on. Constipation, it's pretty much normalized. If I don't eat enough fat, I do start to see some old symptoms coming up. My skin is clearing up. My body is just like transforming. I look like I work out and I don't. And yeah, and I'm just kind of cruising along and figuring out, what the next step is going to be on my diet journey.
100%. I just saw your waist before we hit record, and it looks amazing. It looks like those videos where we've watched our whole lives where they tell us, "If you just do 10,000 sit-ups a day, you'll look like this." That's what you look like.
It's so
You
sweet.
look
Thank you.
great. And we've known each other for, I don't know, 4 months or something, and even in the 4 months I've seen you, you are just transforming. It's amazing. So your doctor had said this is so dangerous for kids. What do you still think that?
No, I don't think that at all. I actually had my son start the carnivore diet when he was 6 months old with me because he was just eating the foods that I was eating. So his first foods were steak and eggs. And I got my daughter off of a high carb diet because she was incredibly picky. She was only eating oatmeal and banana and rice. And now she's eating hamburger patties and bacon and sausage and, all the cheese because who doesn't love cheese? And I wholeheartedly believe that animal products, meat, cholesterol, it's what makes us function well. And I am a big proponent of the proper human diet, like Dr. Berry talks about, anywhere from low carb to carnivore. I think that's where kids need to be, where every person needs to be. And I'm so passionate about this that I have a podcast called Mother Knows Best, where I invite a carnivore mom to come on, or keto mom, or a low carb mom, and they just talk about like why they step away from the status quo, why they choose not to feed their kids processed foods, because I was super confused about the whole thing because I wanted my kids to have the best foot forward. And I did notice that there were some issues with, behavioral issues and sugar crashes and having big strong emotions. And I feel like now it's like night and day. If, we're not perfectly carnivore with them anymore. We're more like meat based, keto, low carb. Like some days are carnivore, some days are low carb, some days, and I'm just being flexible with it. But I think it's so important that we get our kids on the right foot with their nutrition because they're going to take this knowledge and they're going to go to the future with it. And my tagline is I don't want the kids of this world to grow up to be sick. And it just breaks my heart that there's so many that are right now.
There are. It's rampant. I hear kids all the time. We have all these pre-diabetic kids. We have, all these behavioral issues and stuff like that. So we too have seen a lot of difference since putting the kids on a whole foods diet. They're very
Mhm.
whole foods, and we try to prioritize the meat. Let's see here. So with your first daughter, you didn't have any milk. I had that same issue. I ended up having three other kids. I still never had any milk. With your son, did you end up having any milk?
With him, I decided to exclusively pump because it was so, and I wasn't on carnivore at the time or anything. It was incredibly painful, and to the point where I was bleeding, and so I decided to pump exclusively. So I did that with formula feeding for the first 4 months of his life. And then after, because that's all I could do. How low milk of a milk supply I had was probably about, I'd get in a 24-hour period, I'd get about 3 8-ounce bottles. And that's pumping every 2 hours. And it's basically like half an ounce from one breast and 1 ounce from another breast. And so I was making milk, but that was not enough to sustain anybody. But I am really glad that I was able to do that. And I did, um, breastfeed my daughter. I do it like, like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, but we know that she wasn't getting much. I think I produced more with my son than with her for sure.
This is a real hot topic with me because the first kid and first through 3, I was told I just didn't try hard enough. And after child number 4 and still not having any milk, after giving birth at home, staying skin to skin for 6 weeks, having all our meals made, having all the earthly supplements, having all the food, having all everybody came to us and still we were doing weighted feedings and I was getting like 10 ounces a day between pumping and feeding. So what do they call that when you double feed? I forget what it's called. But it's around the clock feeding. And then I found a group online. It's called IGT and Low Milk Supply. And I found that this is rampant. And they had amazing information for anybody else out there who's struggling with low supply. And they talk about how anybody with pre-diabetes, diabetes, any hormone issues, PCOS, endometriosis, and any autoimmune condition whatsoever, like your skin, your body is struggling, so it is likely to have a lower supply no matter what you do. And I'm not saying give up. I'm saying maybe go to that group to see if they have some suggestions on how to heal so you can get a supply.
Yeah, I definitely think that not only my skin, but I suspect that I had PCOS for sure. I think that if you believe it, I had insulin resistance, and I definitely was not healthy enough to be able to produce milk to do what I was supposed to do. And that I have a bit of a scar, like in my heart for that, because I just wanted to be able to feed my children. And I guess that kind of maybe I kind of carried that today, just being so hyper focused and trying my best to just feed them the best I can. And even if we don't have the biggest budget, but I think I just want to give people encouragement that if you just do the best you can, your kids are gonna love you, and you're gonna feel that love. And I think it fills this void inside us when we have kids. I think people grow up when they have kids, and it's a step in
Mhm.
maturity, and it's this really important part of life. I mean, sure, people choose not to have children, but I find it to be really to be life changing for sure. And I think that that was a great resource that you gave me. I wish I would have known about that when I was
Me
struggling.
too. I wish I'd have known about that, number 1, because it was a form of trauma. Like, when we
Mhm.
went to go have the 2nd kid, I almost didn't even wanna try because it was traumatic, and it was heartbreaking. So I highly suggest people go check that out and give yourself some compassion. These issues are becoming more and more and more common and undiagnosed. So if you think about people in tribes, they don't have lactation specialists. The milk just comes in. If you talk to our grandparents and even our parents, they're like, "No, the milk was abundant. I didn't know what to do with it all." I hardly ever hear that anymore. It happens here and there, but I hardly ever hear that anymore. What I hear is, "I had to quit because of mental health." It wasn't mental health. Your baby was hungry, so he was crying, or she, because they didn't have a full belly, and so a full baby is a nice, relaxed, tired baby most
Yes,
of the time. So,
absolutely.
how do you feed your kids on a budget?
So we so I don't know if this is okay to say. Is it okay to say we're on food stamps?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It's like, okay, I just wanted to make sure. I don't know if that's like controversial or not, but okay, so we are a one income household. We do have EBT or food stamps or whatever you want to call it. We get about $400 a month, and we try to stick to that. So, I mean, we do go over that a little bit, but I'd say that we spend anywhere between 100 to $150 a week for a family of four. And we take advantage of going to a meat market that's about an hour away in the city, and we bulk buy. So we'll buy, like a huge box of ground beef of like 8 giant tubes, like this big, and it's about $50. And I think that that is a lot more sustainable for us because we are able to store it. Now, we did recently move and we have a smaller fridge and freezer, so I have to we haven't been to that meat market, but we also take advantage of Costco and taking advantage of those better prices. I mean, I won't lie, things are definitely increasing. I feel like every couple of weeks, it's going up 10 cents, 15 cents. And so you just do the best you can. Keep it simple. I think that the if you're able to buy, a tons of ground beef and a chuck roast and or a whole chicken, and instead of buying all these specialty little sausages and stuff like that, I think that that can really save on your budget for grocery shopping. But it's possible. You can do it. We do it.
Do you guys save, like, your renderings and cook with that? That's what we do. I haven't bought an oil or anything to cook with in 6 months.
Yeah, my favorite to cook with, although some people might not think it's the healthiest, but I love cooking in bacon grease. So I'll cook an entire sheet pan of bacon, and after that's done, I'll take the time and pour it into a little jar or a bowl or something like that. Definitely, if you're just cooking plain ground beef, collect that grease, and that's tallow. And you could, if you want to, you can render it down in a slow cooker and take out the impurities, and then you can make it whipped and you have lotion. Like, it definitely is amazing. So I take advantage of those two for my oils. So you
So,
love
what
that?
kinds of things do you eat? Are you an OMAD, a 2MAD, a 3MAD, and do you eat any snacks?
I am a two mad. I like to eat, like, I also don't like tracking things. I'm like the worst. Like, people are like, "What are your macros? What do you do?" I just kind of eat, which is, I think, a good thing, right? I'm eating intuitively for the first time because I never knew those signals at all. But I eat about 2 meals a day. If I need to, I'll have a third if I'm hungry. A typical meal will be like 5, 6 eggs, with a little bit of goat cheese and then like a couple slices of bacon. That'll kind of be like a big breakfast for me. And then dinner time could be burger patties and more bacon. I eat a lot of bacon or salmon. What else? Sometimes I like to make those like viral cottage cheese breads where it's just cottage cheese and eggs and you blend it up, and that's like a wrap. Sausages. I keep it really, really simple. I feel like it's boring almost, but to me it's not. I feel like every meal with carnivore is just, it's like it just keeps getting better because, one, I'm actually hungry, and two, I'm fulfilling the satiety that I hadn't had for so many years of my life. And so when I eat a good meal, it's just like, let's let's go, let's do this. It's just kind of like a burst. So yeah, my meals are extremely simple, if I'm being honest. Beef steak, like we rarely like picanha. Oh, hello. Has anyone watched Lioness Lifestyle? Picanha Pride. Picanha is another great beef alternative because I can't afford ribeye. And yeah, those are the kind of foods that I eat.
Kanye is better than ribeye anyway, right?
Exactly. Yes.
One of the major things that I know that has helped you in the carnivore diet is your mental health. Can you tell us what it was like before and like how is it today?
Ooh, yeah. It was a really dark, dark period of my life. I didn't I didn't love myself. I actually hated myself. I hated how I spoke. I hated how I looked. I would avoid looking in mirrors. I had such bad brain fog. I didn't really understand who I was. If someone asked me what my favorite color was, I couldn't tell you. It was like, it gets me a little emotional because it's so different from how I feel now. But I would try to do new hobbies, or I was trying to learn coding, for instance. When I was in my house, locked in my house for 5 years, I tried to learn coding because I was like, "Oh, that's something I can do at home." I I just kept beating myself up over it. I'd do a line of code and I'd be like, "I can't do this. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot." And that kind of ties into something from my childhood where people would make, I don't they weren't trying. They weren't trying to hurt my feelings or make me feel bad, but kids have powerful imaginations and they take those words and they manipulate them and it sticks into their heart like pins. And I would hear words of being like, you never pay attention, your head is always in the clouds, or things from my cousins like, "Oh, you're so stupid. How come you don't understand this?" And it just, it hurts. And so when I was in my deep, dark depression, which I was on medication for, did not work, was on vacation for many, many years. And it was just like those dark thoughts just came in. And I'm a Jesus follower, I'm a Christian. And so I know who was saying those words to me now, but I had not found him yet. And I had not found God yet at that time. So I didn't know that. And I just thought that that was me. And that was someone who just tore herself apart. I stopped brushing my teeth. I stopped showering. My friends tell me now, because I asked them, it's like, "Oh, how have I changed?" And you're like, "Honestly, you smelled really bad." And it's awful. It's awful to hear that, but they love me anyway. I guess I dazzled them. I don't know.
Oh,
But it's like, yeah, it's hard to talk about these things, but I'm happy to do it because it's it's really it's really amazing what your body is capable of doing and how capable of it um, how capable it is of I can't talk, sorry. You are capable of healing. You are able to fix yourself. And yeah, so it's like I wasn't working, I wasn't driving, I wasn't going to school anymore. I just kind of existed and I felt like a leech. Versus now, like I said earlier, I found like couldn't I find my my role of being a wife and a mother to be like the best things in my life. Being I'm a stay-at-home mom and I love it. And there were times when I was a stay-at-home mom when I just had my daughter and I didn't love it and I hated it. And my daughter would cry and scream because she had colic and I would just run to the fridge and I would just go, oh, there's a slice of cake in there. Or oh, I can just make some pasta and eat a pound of pasta. Or, it's like just to numb the pain. And this is something I like to say is like the refrigerator was like a siren song to me. And I was like kind of like a boat lost at sea. And I would, or like a lighthouse, like deep, like a lighthouse in the middle of the sea. And I would see that light and I would just go, oh, okay, great. I found safety. I found refuge. And I really buried myself in that. And so oh, you would think that it's like, oh, I have a kid, you're gonna, fix everything. It's like you have to fix it in yourself. And so now I wake up most days, because some days I'm tired, but most days I wake up with, with a joy in my heart and a thankfulness and a gratitude. And if I'm struggling with something, because I've struggled, guys, I've struggled so much with my mental health, I just pray on it now. And I find that that really like washes away that at least majority of that built up tension and stress. And I still have some like built up like I still have some anger deep inside me that comes out and lashes out, but now I'm aware of it and I try to stop it before it comes out. And I tell my kids, I'm sorry if mommy yelled, it's not your fault. And that was something I wish that I had heard when I was a kid, because I was told nothing. I was told nothing. And it's just like I think that you have to teach your kids how to think, or you have to teach your kids what to think. And if you don't teach them what to think, they're going to create this, scenario in their head, or they're going to be influenced by people that are who could have bad intentions for you. So I keep that in mind. So yeah, mental health has definitely been a struggle for me in many ways, but I have like this I like want to help people and I put my time and energy to doing like my YouTube channel now. I would have never done that before. Are you kidding me? That was a long answer, but it's just there's a lot in there. There's a lot in this brain.
Do you take any medicine anymore for it?
No, I am medication free. I stopped taking medication uh like 4 or 5 years ago. Like kind of when I got pregnant, I had to stop taking it. And so yeah, no medicines. I don't even take iodine, guys. It's really bad. Everyone tells me take iodine, and I'm like, yeah, but it tastes like liquor.
It tastes awful. Yeah, it tastes like
Oh,
metal or blood to me or something.
sorry, I have to
I
put humor in there because I'm all emotional.
Oh, it's so great to hear just the change. I had gotten sober. I don't know, we'll have to ask you if you drink at all, but it was 11 years ago and I went into a 12-step program where they talk about having a higher power. So I have this higher power and I'm starting to practice more gratitude. It's something they talk about in like every single meeting. So we've already have these minds in my practice in my mind, but I was still eating the hormone disrupting foods, so I still had this, like, anxious feeling underneath my skin constantly, and that didn't go away until I went carnivore. So I had all the same exact tools, but I just didn't feel exactly the same way. When you were keto, you started feeling better. How come you decided to go full on carnivore instead of keto? I missed that part.
Oh, sure. So because I kept trying to do keto.
Oh, that's
And
right, and it
I
wasn't
kept
sticking.
failing and I couldn't stick to it. So when I found carnivore, I kind of like thought of it as like keto 2.0. I was like, well, this is even better. It's going to remove all the plants from my diet, everything that I'm addicted to. And it's going to give me this jump start to be like, deep in ketosis. And it just seemed like the next thing I had to do because keto wasn't working for me. Now, am I going to say I'm going to be carnivore forever? I don't know. Maybe ketovore, maybe keto, maybe one day low carb. I want to find the perfect diet for me. I want to find all the foods that I can eat and I can enjoy and that I don't binge on and that doesn't bring my mental illness back. Because I think that's really important because I'm raising a family and I don't want there to be like any I don't want them to feel like they're restricted or like they can't see their mom, I don't know. I can't even think of other foods because I'm just so out of that mindset. But it's like, if my kid came up to me and she was like, "Oh, can we make this cake?" Like I don't want to say no to her per se, but I would be very wary about the ingredients and very wary about how we make it. Or like bread. Maybe bread is a better example. Like we would make like sourdough or like a homemade sourdough versus, store-bought bread. I feel like I went on a tangent there, but, that's just yeah, I felt like carnivore was going to put me to the extreme in a good way. It was gonna pull me out of all the crutches that I had held onto my whole life.
I think if well, I think our food is so addicting that
Yeah.
adding some of that stuff back is just it
Mhm,
just perpetuates addiction, and they did it on
mhm.
purpose. Like, they even manipulated our vegetables and our fruits to be bigger, juicier, more sugar-filled, and they have less nutrients, so it's hard. Do you think that you'll go back? Do you think you'll ever reintroduce? And if so, when will you know that that's time?
So I have reintroduced some foods, but it's not like an everyday thing. I've had some pickle. I had a little bit of like I had made like a pumpkin soup. And this is going to be coming out on my channel. So you're getting an exclusive. Just like some ketovore type things. I went out to get pizza with my family and I just ate the toppings with the tomato sauce and it was fantastic. I didn't want the dang bread. I don't want the bread. And it was like we had 3 different types of meat on it and the cheese and the sauce, and I felt fine. And I felt incredible actually. I was just like, I feel like I'm conquering this beast that was inside me that was like constantly attacking me and making me feel worthless. And it's like, no, I can eat other foods. So I feel like I'm becoming a moderator almost, but I never want to go back to the standard American diet, like eating, like the whole pizza. And I used to eat so much Chinese food and all these highly processed chips and cakes and stuff like that. I worked in a bakery and all I did was eat and eat and eat behind the counter instead of throwing away food. I just eat it. So I definitely know that there's a line and I want to figure out that line, if that makes sense.
Yes, I have a friend, Julie, Brain Over Binge coach Julie, and I'm very interested in her program because she works with people on all different diets, not just carnivore, and just learning a different way to have a better relationship with food. I went all the way down to lion and it didn't cure my eating
Mhm.
problem. I found myself binging on short ribs.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah,
So
those are
it's
good.
like the relationship with food is such a tough one. And I think
Yeah,
ultimately it's going to take some work to have a better relationship with food because I don't think we can just restrict it away.
I
What do you
agree.
think?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's really funny. I think the longer that I'm like in this new body, I have this new mind, I have this new outlook. It's making all of the things that were so difficult, they're like becoming more manageable now. I like to think of like how much stress that I can hold. I use the metaphor of saying like I used to be able to hold the amount of like a tiny teacup, a little bone china teacup with a bunch of cracks in it, and it would constantly overspill. And now I feel like I have like a 5-gallon bucket and I can take on more. I can do more with my life. And so, because I have that ability now, which is just incredible to me, I can't believe it. Because I have that ability now, I feel like my brain, I don't know, maybe my brain just doesn't view food as a way to like, I thought, oh, I'm not in fight or flight mode anymore. I'm not just like, hovering between that. I'm just like, I feel safe. I feel secure. And so I'm not having to run back to food to make me feel better like a little baby that needs, her mama's milk to, feel comfort and secure.
Do you think that's part physiologic, like that your body feels safe because it's being nourished? Or do you think it's more mental or
I think it's the whole package because I th- I would say when I first started doing carnivore, I would say that I started feeling better physically first, and then the mental health started coming, and that was within the first month. I had to physically feel secure. I like to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like this cute little pyramid, and the first and basically like you have the first layer is food, water, shelter. And then as it continues to go up, you have like, then after those are secure, then you can have your personal relationships. You can have, you could have community. And then it just keeps going up, up, up until you reach self actualization, which is like, you know, doing more for other people and being able to pursue art. And it's this like amazing beautiful thing that I've always held in my heart when I learned about it in college. And so I think that we are all bogged down at the bottom. And it's, if you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well, and you're not, getting enough water, and you're not taking care of yourself there, if that's not fulfilled, you're never going to be able to go up. Now, do you go up a level? You don't just go up a level and it's like a video game and you're just like, yay, I'm on the next level. You flow. You flow between it depending on the stressors of your life or how you manage these things. But I think that that plays a big role in it. You have to, maybe there's something like, you were saying like you were, having too many short ribs. Maybe there is something in your life and you're the only one that can answer this. Maybe there's something in your life that is, making you stressed out or you're struggling with, and you have to look deep inside to figure that out. Maybe that would help.
I'm definitely to a point where life is just so busy that I don't even take any time to sit down and think out what's going on. But there's definitely
Mhm.
something bothering me, and I really need to just I don't know. It would require staying up late, or I don't know. It's so hard as a stay-at-home mom to
Yeah.
prioritize yourself and take care of yourself. It's so
Mhm.
hard, right? Could you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about your channel? Like it's called Nourishment Redacted. What is that?
I know, right? It's so I had a dream, and the dream was that I was reading a large ancient book, and it was all about ancestral eating. And I was reading it, all of a sudden the lines started becoming redacted. A large black line would go over these words, and I was just like screaming at the book. I'm like, no, I want to learn more. I need to know the information. And I said, my nourishment is being redacted. And I remember waking up to that. And that phrase just kind of kept lingering in my head. And I had watched Carrie from Homestead House, like 30-day update, the viral one. And I was just like, okay, I need to do this because the thing that he said that stuck with me the most was that you have to remember your pain. If you don't remember it, you're going to feel, oh, everything's fine. I can eat this, I can eat that. And you're not responsible. You're not, putting yourself to this like higher standard. You're allowing yourself to go backwards, basically. And I kept forgetting my pain. And I kept thinking, oh, everything's fine. And then it would just ruin everything. That's why keto didn't work for me because I was relying, I was doing those like substitution foods like keto bread and keto pizza. And it would just make me want the real thing. So it's like, let's just go eat the real thing. So Carrie encouraged everyone to make a channel because the more voices that are out here, we could help more people. And so I was like, I felt like God had put that little phrase in my head. And so I want everyone's nutrition to be unredacted. I want it to be available, and I want everyone to learn as much as they can and make the best decision for themselves.
Amazing. So, you talked about we have Linus. Well, you didn't talk about Linus Lifestyle Live, but you have Mother Knows Best, where you talk to different moms who are nourishing their kids with meat. And what else do you have on your channel that people will come over and watch?
So I have a live stream show that features you, Adrian, Adrian K. Glenhill, and the Christy from Meeting Wellness. And we go live every Tuesday where we honor and we showcase a woman who has chosen to eat a meat-based diet. And they share their life story, and we pick it apart and we talk about it and we answer those questions as their lives. So it's a great resource for people who might be struggling with their weight, or maybe they have diabetes, or they need to hear someone who's cured an autoimmune condition. So it's a fabulous time. Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Every Tuesday, we try not to miss a show. And I love having you on it. And I think you're such a great part of it. And I think the three of us are really making waves in the carnivore community. It feels good to help others and share their message. So I think you do a great job. And I love you
Oh,
for it.
thanks. That's not where I was going with this, but I also a lot of the what we can view on your channel too is you sharing your journey, which is what I appreciate is you share your struggle and your success. And that's so nice because we always see people at the end goal and we go, well, that looked easy. So it's amazing
Yeah.
you've been sharing your move and just the different struggles and successes. And so we've got Mother's Knows Best, Linus Lifestyle, and your journey. Is there anything I missed?
I also like to make, if I can, I like to make videos about motherhood. So that includes cooking, cleaning, the philosophy of motherhood. And I definitely want to I want to basically like carnivore homemaking. That's kind of like, I'm trying to like merge the two, like, the carnivore updates, Mother Knows Best, and Lioness Lifestyle, like what it means to be a carnivore woman or ketovore woman, whatever, meat based, it's like, I want to merge all those different projects together with my updates on the channel, and I just I just want to be like a friend. Like if someone comes onto my channel, I want to be their friend and I want to talk to them and I want to encourage them and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. What's going on with you?" And I want to have a conversation and talk to people in the comments. And I kind of I say that carnivore is cheaper than therapy because I feel like I've learned so much about myself through this, and I just want to do the same for my community as well. So it's all mushy gushy, but I just love it. It's all
That's
nice.
amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
On The Biggest Loser, we got when I was an at-home contestant, not on the show itself, they didn't get any of this, but I got community, a doctor, a nutritionist, and a psychologist. And through YouTube and Instagram, you can get all that in the carnivore community. And it's true. And people will
Yeah.
start with one and then they'll end up adding later on because they'll go, "Ooh, I'm missing a little bit. It's not working." And then
Mm.
and it's all free and it's just there for you. So amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody go out, follow Ellie. You'll love her channel. Is there anything else I missed, Ellie?
I don't think so. This was such a fun conversation. I feel, obviously we chat all the time, but I feel so comfortable with you, and I hope that someone takes something from this and just know that you don't have to be sick. Your kids don't have to grow up to be sick, and this is something that you have the power to change in your life. And so, thanks
Amazing.
for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.